Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see about Harlem Renaissance. Between the end of World War I and the middle of 1930, in the place called Harlem, which is near New York, a cultural, social, and artistic explosion took place, and the name of this explosion only we say as Harlem Renaissance because it brought a big new cultural, black cultural identity in all the fields like literature, artistic, and also in intellectual movement. Now, what is Harlem Renaissance is Harlem is a place which is near New York City, and it is also called in the early 20th century as the Black Cultural Mecca because it led to the social and artistic explosion of all the black people. That is from 1910 to about 1930. It is considered as a golden age for the African American culture, which showed in literature, music, stage performance, and art. And when it started is at the end of the World War One. These people who fought for the country, the black veterans of the war, they came back expecting a lot of progress in their life, and when they went back to the southern homelands, they found that there was no change in their lifestyle because they had done a lot of sacrifice, but the same poor living condition was remaining, and they were still humiliated in the public, and nothing changed. But at the same time, the people who went to the north and west found it very profitable because there were many new industries there, and therefore they were all prospering, whereas the people who went to the south were finding their life very miserable. And in addition to it, in the northern and western places, since people were not migrating anymore from Europe, there was a shortage of laborers, and therefore there was so much of job opportunities. And coming to know about this, these people who were in the south, all the African Americans, they started moving towards the industrial centers like Pittsburgh and Detroit, and the cities like Chicago and New York. And a very great number people went to New York cities, and that place, that is Harlem, was actually called the cultural mecca because already a lot of black population was there. And Harlem boundaries also started expanding in 1910 because many African Americans were coming there, and the African American real estate agents and church groups, they had brought a lot of land there, so it was very easy for these black migrants to get place, that is to stay. But of course the rents were very high, and this number of people coming, great number of people coming, was not liked by the people who are already staying there because they thought these new people are coming will cause one disadvantage in their jobs, because when many people are coming for a job, definitely the salary will be reduced and even the job opportunities might reduce. But thing is, this migration developed in different backgrounds people to get opportunities in cultural growth and also in diversity. And how Harlem became the home to the artists is, that is, Harlem was already a place where many political activists was happening place, and many people were protesting. They were asking about questions about the injustice that was taking places, and many writers came to Harlem with the intention of listening to the lives of these migrants and writing them as novels and short stories. And it is not only these writers who created the Renaissance community. There were two very important leaders. Alan Locke was a philosopher, writer, and educator, and we have Charles Johnson, who was the director of research for the Urban League. They were the ones who would change that area into a literary haven because they called out all the promising writers from other states, and they gave them high incentives for their best work. So many people came out with their best works there, and this also showcased that African Americans were capable of literature, art, and music. And at this time only, white publishers also started opening their doors for black writers, and the stage was set, and Harlem became a vibrant site of artistic experimentation. And what is known as a Great Migration is the northern Manhattan neighborhood of Harlem. That is, Manhattan is near Harlem, and northern Manhattan was only popular for upper class white neighbors in 1880s. But because of the great development that's happened in Harlem, many people started going towards New York and Harlem, and now the buildings are all very empty, and the landlords were desperate seeking for some people to come and stay in their houses. And in the early 1900s, a few middle-class black families from another neighborhood known as Black Bohemia, they started coming to Harlem, and some white residents, they fought to keep these African Americans out of that area, but they were not able to do that, and so many white people, they left that place and went out. And outside factors which led to the boom were from 1910 to 1920, this African American population migrated in large numbers from the south to north, and among them were the important people like W.E.B. Du Bois, who was also known as for this great migration. And in 1915 and 1916, natural disasters in the south put black workers and sharecroppers out of work. And not only that, after World War One, immigration to the United States fell. Many people stopped coming to United States, and in the north, the people wanted people to work for them. That is, the owners, they wanted people. So they came to south and they asked these black workers to join in their companies. And by 1920, nearly about 3 lakh African Americans from south moved to north, and Harlem was their favorite destination. And what this Black Pride movement is, there was a this shift of huge number of people is resulted in the Black Pride movement, and the leaders of this was Du Bois, who ensured that black Americans got the credit they deserved for cultural areas of life. And two of the earliest breakthroughs were in poetry, and the main persons who wrote this poetry are Claude McKay, his collection Harlem Shadows, and Jean Thomas Kane. And civil rights activist James Weldon Johnson's The Autobiography of an Ex-Colored Man, which was followed by God's Trombones, left their marks on the world of fiction. Novelist and Du Bois' protege Jessie Frederick Fawcett's 1924 novel There Is Confusion explored the idea of black Americans finding a cultural identity in a white-dominated Manhattan. Fawcett was a literary editor of the NAACP magazine The Crisis, and also developed a magazine for black children with Du Bois. Socialist Charles Spurgeon Johnson was integral in shaping the Harlem literary scene, and he used the debut party for There Is Confusion to organize resources to create opportunity. The National Urban League magazine he founded and edited, a success that bolstered writers like Langston Hughes, who became a very great personality. And Hughes came with many other promising black writers and editors, as well as the powerful white New York publishing figures. Soon, many writers found their work being published in magazines like Harper's. And music and Harlem, we find that music that percolated in and then boomed out of Harlem in 1920 was jazz. It became so popular, and jazz was often played at speakeasies and offering illegal liquor. Jazz became a great draw not only for the Harlem residents but also outside the white audiences also. And some of the most celebrated names in American music are Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Bessie Smith, Fats Waller, and Cab Calloway, and they performed in elaborate floor shows. And when we see to acting in Harlem, we find that black actors who had not got previously any chances, now they had opportunities in the stage. Because earlier, if you see, means black actors will come on stage only if it's a minstrel show, musical, or rarely in a serious drama with non-stereotypal roles. But now there was a stage revolution, and we have the versatile Paul Robeson, who's an actor, singer, writer, and activist. And Robeson, he moved to Harlem in 1919. At that time, he was studying law at Columbia University, and also he maintained a social presence in that area, and he became a real inspiration to others, and also he was an approachable person. Robeson believed that arts and culture were the best path forward for black Americans to overcome racism and make advances in a place which is a white dominated culture. And black nationalist and leader of the Pan-African movement, Marcus Garvey, was born in Jamaica and moved to Harlem in 1916 and began publishing the influential newspaper Negro World in 1918. His shipping company Black Star Line established trade between Africans in America, the Caribbean, South and Central America, Canada and Africa. Garvey is known for founding the Universal Negro Improvement Association or UNIA, which advocated for separate but equal status for persons of African ancestry, that is, who were from the generation of those who came from Africa and settled in America, with the goal of establishing black states around the world. And when Harlem Renaissance ended is the end began with the stock market crash of 1929 and the Great Depression. By 1935, many pivotal Harlem residents had moved on to seek work, but they were replaced by continuous flow of refugees from the south. The Harlem Race Riot of 1935 broke out following the arrest of a young shoplifter, and it resulted in 3 deaths, hundreds of injured people, and millions of dollars in property damage. And this riot was a death knell for the Harlem Renaissance. The Harlem Renaissance can be said as a golden age for African American artists, writers, and musicians. It gave these artists pride and control over how the black experience was represented in American culture and set the stage for civil rights movement. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box, like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.